Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com, your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel or our website. Reach out to me directly. It's in the description below, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing a big watch with a big name, the IWC Big Pilot's Watch Annual Calendar 5027-02, a timepiece 46.2 millimeters in diameter, approximately 15.5 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, just under 56 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. The watch is 55.8 millimeters end to end. So a broad watch across the wrist. We'll talk about the software and the hardware in a moment after I give you a wrist impression. Now, truth be told, I do think that you need a bigger wrist than mine to wear this watch. I think 17 centimeters circumference is an ideal entry point. I think bigger than 17 centimeters, you're really going to look good with this watch on the wrist, but you can see this over-the-top shot reveals just how much overlap there is of the lugs over the edge of my wrist. It's not terribly thick for what it is. Jackets should be okay. It's not going to fit underneath a dress sleeve, but it's not really that kind of watch anyway. It's across the wrist where this watch takes its liberties and spreads its wings, metaphorically. The shape of the lugs does mitigate against ill fit, but I still think 17 centimeter circumference is the minimum. The strap that's included is of high grade, and as you can see, they give you a lot of material. You'll also note that this is an IWC factory strap in outstanding condition, and it is thick. Sheer cut, you can see the layers of construction and the layers of leather. You can see the cosmetic rivets used in the assembly, a nod to the aviation history of the model. But with alligator leather on top, rather than calfskin on both sides, this is a more expensive and upscale strap than you'll typically find on a pilot's watch. The clasp is full deployant, single fold. You can see that it's media blasted and polished inside, and polished and satin finished externally. This is something you're going to want because it protects against accidental droppage while donning or removing this heavy watch. As you can see, it's simple, with a case band that is defined by the step between the mid case and the bezel. That helps to draw out the horizontals. You can also see that the lugs are integrated and nicely tapered, so while they're brutal in size, they're actually nicely proportioned. There's a screw down crown with a sort of, I would call it onion profile, or some would call it the cut gem profile, and it endows the watch with 60-meter water resistance, which is fine for surface swimming as long as you put it on a water-resistant strap. The crown itself is almost 11 millimeters in diameter. Now there's that step between the mid-case and the bezel that helps to visually pare the mass down. So too does the conical profile that immediately abuts the sapphire. It's been rounded and polished for contrast. You can also see there are small polished bevels on the tips of the lugs. The dial, as IWC likes to call it, or doise, I call it a sort of silver slate. It's a metallic gray sunburst, and as you can see, we have broadsword style hands, not just for the hours and minutes, but also for the sub-registers, constant seconds, and the 7-day power reserve. Instrument style calibration. As with every big pilot's watch, the keystone and the guiding light for the design was the Luftwaffe Type 52 TSC powered BR, and although there were 4 manufacturers of the BR, IWC is the best remembered, and today IWC was the innovator in reviving the type with the first big pilot's watch back in 2002. This watch continues in that tradition. The model came out in 2017. It's an annual calendar big pilot's watch, and it features a triple aperture month, date, and day, and if you were to screw out that crown, you can see first I've got hacking or stop seconds, so I can synchronize this watch to a reference time, but I also have a double quickset system. Turn clockwise and you change the day. Turn counterclockwise and you change the date. And of course, if you want to drive the month, you do that by driving the date. Roll the watch over and you have the latest generation of IWC's oversized automatic. This is still the 50,000 series. You are now looking at the IWC 52850 automatic winding 7-day power reserve, free sprung with a handmade overcoil hairspring and a chronometer style 5-position adjustment. You could see upgrades over previous generations of the 50,000 series. First, a skeletonized barrel bridge with 2 barrels. Yes, there are 36 pivot jewels, and you can see several of them are invested in the power source. Previously, these watches used a single large barrel, which would cause a great variance in timekeeping from maximum wind when the watches would run too fast to minimum wind when they would run very slow. That was a problem through the first, I would say, 15 years of these movements. The arrival of the double barrels, first in the Portuguesers, helped to improve the isochronous performance of the watch from maximum wind to minimum wind. You'll also appreciate the fact that the Peloton winding system, the traditional IWC pawl-based winding system, it's always been very efficient and shock tolerant, but it always also had one shortcoming in that it would create a dirt on the movement problem. And essentially, you would start to see deposits on the bridges. That was because of the lubrication systems used in the past on metal. Here, with ceramic on ceramic, no lubrication is necessary, and the metal can't wear down and leave debris. So this retains all of the underlying advantages of the Peloton system without the shortcomings. There's also a higher beat rate. The original version of this movement was 18K, then it was upgraded to 21.6, now it is 28.8 like most modern movements, which increases the potential accuracy of the watch and lessens the likelihood that a bump or concussion on the wrist will significantly impact timing precision. There's a rose gold medallion inside the rotor, and this remains one of the largest automatic movements in the world with a diameter over 37 millimeters, so it is built to the size of the case. Annual calendar, the watch need be adjusted only once a year during the jump from February to March. All the other irregular length months it can handle, and of course you've got a power reserve indicator over at 3 o'clock. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back with the Big Pilot's Watch annual calendar, reference 5027.